not welcome.
Yeah,
Unwelcome remarks where you are undressing the person with words even, and that's bordering on, or actually is harassment.
Definitely. So I'll give more practical examples here so that people could actually know. Maybe you've actually experienced it as a teenager and you didn't know that's what was actually happening to you. So one example is demanding hugs or making unnecessary physical contact, including unwanted touching and grabbing. So there's some people who would like kind of impose hugs, if you know what I mean. So
that's itself, so true. And to kind of impose hugs.
Yeah, and what I should emphasize is that sexual harassment is not a gendered a problem or gendered crime. So this can happen either way. So it can be girls who are doing that to boys, or boys who are doing that. So
thank you for highlighting that, because sometimes when girls do it, I know you don't get my jokes, but then if a guy is uncomfortable, they are uncomfortable, and you're harassing them. But then and just speaking up for the man, sometimes we just trivialize it. But then
and it should be called out. And then the other example here is calling people sex-specific derogatory names. Like this is very common, especially in our culture. We think it's just okay, and we don't care about what the other person on the other hand feels. You know, when we're dealing with sexual harassment, there's a standard that we should always use. And that standard, I like to call it the eye of the beholder standard. So we need to consider the perspective of the person who's on the receiving end. So if it is not okay to them, then we should take that side, because what's not okay to one person may be okay to the other person. So a person could argue and say, but I've done this to many people and they're okay with it. Well, people are different. I don't like it, and because I don't like it, you should consider my perspective, my side of the story, and it should end. And then
because you're overreacting. Okay.
Yeah, because the thing would be like, I've done it to many other people, so why are you special? I mean, what's special about you? And then the next example here is making sex-related comments about a person's physical characteristics or actions. So I was going to give examples, but anyway, that's not too Reggie-friendly, so I won't give like the example. But making those comments, it could be online or even physically, because you know how sometimes you may post, things like that.
Okay.
You know, you may post your picture on Instagram or on Facebook, and then instead of commenting about where you were, what you're doing, then people start commenting on your body or body shaming even. Then the other one here is posting or sharing pornography, sexual pictures or cartoons, or any other sexual images without the other person's consent. You know, somebody may think, okay, I found this is interesting, so let me just pass it on to my friend, or pass it on to that other person. So that itself is sexual harassment if there is no consent. And normally, you know, when somebody indicates that they're not for what you're doing, people would think that maybe my jokes, and then will try and do more. Or if somebody ignores, they think, okay, that means they're okay with it. But it's important when you see that somebody is not responding in a happy way, that you actually stop it. Because if you continue that, and also I think it's important for a person who's on the receiving end to quickly call it out and to speak, because sometimes when you don't speak, when you're just quiet, a person will think maybe you're okay with it. And also what we should realize is that sometimes somebody starts with the subtle things, and they are testing the ground to see if sexual assault is even possible. So when they see that, okay,
I've seen guys do that. They start like they're just joking in conversations, and you know, talking about bathing and stuff. Then when I don't know, I know in the like I also to me that picture.
Yeah.
And you have to stop it. To come side hug or not. Okay. Next time we'll try a front hug.
Yeah.
And they pat you on the shoulder. Yeah. But you tested the waters, yes.
Yeah. So it's important just immediately to tell them, now this is not it, and then it ends there. And then other examples here, making sexual jokes. I think I've made reference to this. And then also questions or comments about a person's sexual activity. So even things like asking a person like, you're a virgin or you're not, depending on the relationship, that itself is like a no. You shouldn't even go and cross that line. And then you had to say that. And then the other one is this happens especially to junior teens. Just a person will ask someone out, and then the person says no, I'm not for it. Then Oramba Shingo ask her out like repeatedly. That then becomes harassment. And what I've seen also is that boys are more on the receiving end on this. So a girl would go ask out a boy, and then the boy says no, and then she gangs up with all her friends to go and talk to the guy. Like all the other friends now know, okay, girl A likes this boy, and then all these girls are trying to convince the guy. So that can be overwhelming and end up being a problem. So it's something that's not right and should be stopped.
Oh, thank you for speaking up for the boys. Because I know I got poster. Because so why? So tell me, like, you don't like her, you're not feeling her that way.
Yeah. And then maybe they start being accused of being gays or something like that. Why aren't you into girls? Why aren't you liking me? That kind of thing. And then the other one here is demanding nudes from someone or sending unsolicited nudes.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, there's an assumption that all boys like nudes. So.
Oh, okay. So not all boys like nudes.
No, not all boys like nudes. So somebody just starts like sending unsolicited. So that in itself is a problem. Then the other one here is objectifying a person by making inappropriate comments about their clothing or body. I think I've spoken about that. And then invasion of someone's personal space by touching, grabbing, or blocking his or her way. So this would happen especially in Muma streets or Muma towns. I don't know if you've seen when somebody is wearing something that's deemed by this rowdy crowd to be indecent or inappropriate. They start maybe shouting insults, blocking their way. And there were incidences, I think 3 years ago, where people even went to the extent of ripping off someone's clothes and all of that. And they pretend to be this people who are on this high moral ground, Manema values, very concerned about decency and all that. Yet they go ahead and do something that's even that's not decent at all.
It's such a contradiction.
Yeah, it's a contradiction.
Immoral ground,
yeah.
That allows you to then do that to other people. And the weekend is what that sexual harassment as someone had come on the WhatsApp platform. This is a very necessary topic to show for our little ones. Some of us went through a lot from our lectures back in uni, and dance kamridzo nituma comments twatorova pakona karipo as harassment.
Karipo definitely, because like I've said, we use the eye of the beholder standard. So what does that make? How does that make the person who's receiving feel? So it's not about how you're feeling. You may feel like but how does the person that you're doing that to feels about it? That is what we should actually consider. And my advice would be, if you're experiencing that, and all that, I would encourage you to maybe pretend one day to like it, get one of the people's numbers, get them to call you, and now you know, okay, this is their number. And now that you know their number, use that number to report them. Sometimes when another which is 0, that just call from a police officer or call from your parent or from Chiikuti, hey, what are you doing? That would actually bring the message, and people would know what I was doing was actually wrong. Because I people tend to do certain things and get the comfort of numbers. And then the other guys say is that comfort, and you feel like, oh, I am the man. So it's important to then call them out.
Okay.
That is very important. There's another form also of sexual harassment. I think you made mention to it, or it's one of the listeners who made mention to it, which is coercing sexual cooperation by means of subtle or explicit threats in exchange for something else. So, for example, somebody could say, if you don't sleep with me, I'm going to leak out our nudes, or something like that, or your nudes.
I guess it has been happening a lot, revenge porn.
That happens a lot. So what I would encourage, especially to parents, is that there are certain offenses that we need to pardon in the event of a bigger problem. So, for example, if it is your daughter who's being threatened, yes, she was not supposed to send nudes in the first place and all that, and that's an offense. But it's an offense that you can deal with later on and give consequences to. And then for now, you make sure you focus on the bigger one, which is the sexual harassment that your daughter is actually facing. Because you may want to be angry about what has happened.
But wait, I'm saying,
And all of that.
why we're sleeping together or just different things? Okay.
Because if you focus on that, you're giving room for something that has even more grave consequences. Because what if the perpetrator then sees that no action is being taken and goes ahead to actually sexually assault your daughter or sexually assault your son for that matter? So it's important to just forgive. Because of our time, I'll talk a little bit about what I think parents can do, and then should time allow, maybe I'll also talk about what teenagers can do. So number one, and I'd already made a little bit of reference to it, do not blame your child for what has happened to them. So this is like we've defined it. It's unwelcome, uninvited. You know, sometimes the parents make it sound like kana mwanaga askwa out. It is their problem. It is not their problem. You know, they don't have the power to control what the next person thinks or will do to them. So don't blame them. Listen to them. Give them an opportunity to say out and also validate their feelings. You know, sometimes we think people should feel the same way we feel. Kuti inini ndawana be, and I'm sad about it, I'm depressed and all that. And you're like, it's namasi, and we were okay with it. No, we react and respond to things differently. So validate their feelings. And then number two, it's important to believe them. If there's anything that is very difficult, is to open up about things like sexual harassment. So the last thing you want is somebody to doubt and say kuti or try and trivialize the issue. So it's important to believe. So when you show that you believe you're on their side, that's going to give them an opportunity to even tell you everything, to actually open up to you, and you're going to discover more and be able to help them more. And then the next thing is definitely important to confront the perpetrator. So depending on the levels, sometimes you might need to just get the phone, call the boy, call the girl who's sexually harassing your child, or you might actually need to help your daughter or your son to go and report to the police depending on the gravity of the issue. So it's important because, like I've said, sometimes we think, it's right where it isn't too bad, and we don't want to act. And what we don't realize is that that perpetrator was testing the ground. Now that you haven't taken action, they're going to go ahead and do even more. And apart from doing more to your son or daughter, they may also have other targets. But if you're going to call it out and make sure you make them realize that this is wrong, it means you're not only going to protect your child, but you're going to protect other teens out there. So it is important. It is very important. Do I still have time? Oh, yeah. I think I've got a bit.
You can do it in a minute. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So what's important also is, especially if it happens like online, is to record the conversations, the messages, the audios, take screenshots and all that, so that you've got evidence. Should it get to a point where now it needs to be reported, go to court and all that, you've got all the evidence and you can always present it, and that would be a good thing. And I would encourage for teenagers, if it's too difficult to open up to someone, to talk to someone, because in the middle of talking, because of people's reactions and all that, that may invoke certain emotions, you can write things down in your journal, in your computer, somewhere. Because when you're writing in a diary, you can pour out your feelings out there, and then you give somebody to read. So when somebody is reading, they're not going to be questioning you and all that, but they'll have an opportunity to get the full story because it's written down. So it's important. And also, it's important not to sexually harass others. So be careful about what you do to other people. If they're not liking it, then stop it.
And we warn people that sometimes sexual harassment depends on who you are as a person. For example, a handsome guy might get away with something that if a less handsome guy did would be regarded as assault. So if something is unwelcome from you, it's unwelcome. Don't say Mimi got away with it one. So we're also live on Facebook. Coach Tafadzwa, how can people get in touch with you?
So the easiest way to get in touch with me is my WhatsApp, and my WhatsApp number is 0773 606 728. 0773 606 728.
Thank you so much. It has been teamzoom.com right here on Star FM on the Morning Galaxy. We were also live on Facebook. Check your time with mine, 11 o'clock, time for the news.